I'm back. Oh my God, I've got the top on today. It's freezing out here. That's the way life is in England. It's probably, could be like that where you are, but I don't know. In any case, the owl's still with it. Oh, a new one. Enough of that for now. What have I got here? Well, this is the replacement PC, thanks to Microsoft. Shh, you know, Windows 11, Windows 10, crashing out, got all the software on it and everything else for the Evil Owl Studios. And yeah, that H1, H2 or whatever it's called, wherever that upgrade is, crashes the system out every single time, blue screens, thanks very much, can't solve it. Well, I can. And that, my friends, clearly is the problem of exactly what's wrong with the PC down on the floor. This one, yeah, this one's really quite powerful. In fact, it's so powerful, you've got to be careful it doesn't bite you. But we're going to go and have a look at it a bit closer, and then I might show you some of the, you know, the updating and getting it where I need to get it. It could be quite involved actually, because it's a very powerful system. But we'll see about that as we go. So, you ready to take a look? Let's have the lid off and see what's inside this thing. Oh my God, Tony, is that a monster? You're darn right it is. But she brought a cup of tea out. Enough of that, before she comes back. Well, as you can see, this is one of the sort of newer types of pieces of kit kicking around. And look at the fan. I mean, I wouldn't call that big. I'd call that ginormous. Yeah, it's one of them be quiet fans, you know. Now you can have water cooled and all the rest, but you don't really need that for the application I've got in the studio here. But underneath it is one of the newest Intel 12900K processors, and that's why this is here. Yeah, well, I have got a lot of things in here. Like I said, DDR5 RAM. There's lots of other things too. I mean, take the motherboard. Well, don't literally take it, because the fact is that the cost of the motherboard's very high. It's one of these. Yeah, one of them Asus ProArts Z690 Creator with Wi-Fi. Not that I'll use the Wi-Fi particularly, but you never know. But it's got a load of other stuff in it as well. It's got PCIe 5, DDR5, an LGA 1700 socket, Intel Core Series, Windows 11 ready, and all that rubbish. And you can trust me, it really is. But let's go a bit further. That power supply, I think that's an 850 watts. I had it upgraded from where it was at, just in case you go stuffing more stuff in, which in this PC we could, and we might well as we go. There's 3 fans, there's one up here and 2 down here, so it's cooled dramatically, and of course you've got the big fat one there. You've also got on this motherboard the new SSD type of RAM that fits in these things, and there's a number of them in there which we'll get to see later on, and some of them operate I think up to I don't know, some ridiculously fast read and write speed. I think 7,200, somewhat ridiculous. I don't even remember it. It's faster than I can remember. But as you can see, it's a pretty powerful piece of gear. And also the GeForce Zotac Gaming. This one's 1660 Super, because I don't need a display adapter that's super high res for, you know, things like games and things like that, because that's not going on this. So there it is. Nightmare to get hold of right now, and a nightmare on how much you pay for them as well. This one was in the hundreds. It should be like 150 quid or something, I don't know. Right then, well, this PC, it came from a company called Scan Computers in the UK. And I've got a listing here of all the bits and pieces that go into it. And if you're building really a workstation for your studio, you need it to be pretty powerful, and you need to have it last a while, because flipping all this stuff out all the time isn't really what you need. I had the other one a few years, but not that long. which is a pity because Microsoft says, well, stay on Windows 10. But of course, the problem with Windows 10 is that in 3 years' time from months ago, no support. Not a good idea when you've got loads of audio on it and stuff like that. So for me, I opted to buy a scan computer. Yeah, they've got a proper name for this thing somewhere. Yeah, a Scan 3XS. That's what it's called. You get a mug with it and rubbish like that. But let me run through what's in it quickly. So there's a rack system. There's a Z690 creator, 16 gig Scan 3XS USB flash drive. Don't know where that is, but it'll be somewhere. Windows 11 Home Advanced. You don't want Pro. You don't need that. 3XS Samsung 980 Pro 1TB M2 PCI 4. That's one in there. 3-year warranty. 3XS only, 32 gig, 16 gig times 2 DDR5s. And they're so hard to get at the moment and at ridiculous money, honestly. Unless you really need it, don't do it right now. Then again, if you don't, you'll be pulling the other stuff out later. That's a bit of a blow. We've got, like I said, a 3XS 850 watt Seasonic Focus PX850 power supply. There's a Be Quiet Silent Wings 3.1, probably them in there. Lead time Win11 GML S21 label. Intel Core i9 12900K OEM. There's a RZ170 4-unit rack system, like it said earlier. Didn't supply two, did they? No. Tech support, system build, black bundle box, whatever that is, peripherals promo, whatever that is too. There's a Western Dig 6TB, and I bought that really for backing up. It's on site backing up, keeps it nice and simple really. Yeah, there's a Be Quiet Dark Rock TF2, which you've seen. 3-year warranty, on it goes. What's this? Rack mount ears, we'll come back to them later. What a load of junk them are. Auto-generated order, scan logo mug, a logo Corsair MM300 mouse pad, as if that helps, and some 2 meters of braided cable sleeve, and that adds it all up to, believe this or not, £2,394 and 4 pence. Yeah, and that's without the display adapter. That's another story, like I said. And if you've got to buy one, well, you've got to buy one, but I don't recommend it. Convert this stuff to dollars and you can see it's almost a mortgage. It's crazy. Anyway, enough of that for now. Let's move on. Well, just before we do, I also took my Wavelab Pro 10 and upgraded it to 11. Not that I use it that much these days, but there you go. I did do it, and what more can I say about that? I'm going to plug all the stuff in now and we'll turn this thing on and see what happens. Boom! Oh look, fancy that. Yeah, well, we got this far. It is nice and quiet, but of course it's not really doing anything yet, is it? It's just hovering. Here we go, let's install it. United Kingdom, yes. You've probably seen all this before, but just in case you haven't seen, is this keyboard layout input right? No, it's not. United Kingdom, that sounds like a plan. We need to do that, don't we? Of course we do. Oh, I know what we need to do. We need to plug the network in. That's a plan. Now, one of the things I didn't mention is this this motherboard's got 2 net cards on it, in effect, 2 adapters. And one's it says here, oh, it's a 10 gig, and there's a 2.5 gig. Yeah, they're meant to be going on with, so to speak. So loads of other stuff, we'll get to that later. So this is where we're at to now. What am I going to connect to? Connect automatically. If you've never seen this, this sort of Windows 11 before, this is the rigmarole. I'll probably cut some of this short as we go because it's a bit boring. Okay, well, I've been working through this continuously, and Microsoft It wants all my data forever and a day, and it wants me to include everything, and I'm just saying, no, don't use my diagnostic data. No, this is how bad it is. Hi. Oh my God, getting things ready, man. Yeah, it's so familiar, from 1984. Well, that didn't take long, did it? Yeah. We've got all this stuff we can go and do, but of course, I don't really want to do that. What I do want to do is to look at this and look at the network to see if I can see anything else. Yeah, fancy that. There's my server, and it's something I wanted to be connected to because I can. And fancy that, there I am. I've got my studio drive backup. Loads of stuff on there. And we can pull stuff off the other PCs kicking around in the studio currently and put them on this PC, which sounds like a plan to me. Okay guys, well I'm not going to spend all day yapping on what I'm going to install and how I'm going to do it and the rest of it. One thing I can tell you, I did actually order another M2 device, which was a 2 terabyte device. About 300 quid for this one because it's very fast system, and I wanted it to be like that. But I've got loads of drives to come out of my old PC as well, so I'm not that worried about it. But we will see a 2 terabyte very fast drive in there, an M2. So I'm going to go and install everything, and I'll be back when I've done it. Quick shot of the Presonus. Welcome to Studio One setup. Okay, well, yeah. It's installing Studio One and all the goodies that go with it. I'll be back soon to show you when it's done it all. Presonus Studio One installed. Obviously basic at this point, but it will get better. It took hours to download. Okay, well, another day, another piece of aggro. Or not. Well, where are we? Well, what I did was to go to this backup drive and pull all this stuff down from the old studio backup drive, it says there. And you can see it all there. And there's far too much stuff coming from that old system into this new system. A lot of that stuff isn't really necessary anymore. It was okay a couple of years ago, but today I'm going to spend about an hour and a half going through that and sorting all the junk out, you know. So I'm going to go and do that, and then we'll come back and have another look at what's next. It's just piles and piles of, really it's like housekeeping, and that's the sort of thing you get into when you're doing this junk. Still, I'll be back. Don't go anywhere, will you? And okay, as you can possibly see on the screen, I've got more to copy, just loads and loads from different drives. And when I've got all this done, then you can sort of sort the rest out. There's so much duplicated stuff because you never want to lose any of it, do you? And it's the same on the cloud storage as well. I've got to go through all that, so that was just another one. Oh my God, it goes on forever. Anyway, I'll be back. Okay, well, what we've got is I've copied a load of the Presonus masters across. You probably see them there if I just click it open. These are all the directories that I've managed to get across up to now. You can see there's a lot of them. There's quite a few masters as well, so if I take a look at that one and give it a click. Chances of it playing is pretty much zero because, well, it isn't all installed. So if we just try and play it, I don't think it's getting anywhere. No, getting nowhere right now. We'll be coming back to that a little bit later. Just thought I'd show you where we're at so far. Sort of problems that I'm sure are going to exist on Windows 11. We'll see. Well, there you are. Well, as you can see, we've got a little bit further. I've got this thing fired up and running, the Atom SQ, which we'll see a lot more about later on. We'll hear more of it too. And I've got the PC going a bit further. I don't know what you can see on it, but maybe I'll zoom in just a little bit closer for you. Well, as you can see, we've got the Motu stuff there. Obviously, it's nothing's connected yet, but we've got it. It's sitting there. And I've got a load of other programs across the bottom here. I've got the Helix controller. I've got Fruity Loops, if you're into fruit. Yeah. I've got Easy Keys, Easy Drummer. What is that one? Product Manager. Oh, somebody's got to have it. I've got Wavevibe Pro 11, because the upgrade was, well, cheap. I've got the iLock and the other one for the Steinberg. I've got the Studio One 5 installed and, by the way, now running. We just open that. We'll just take a quick look. Just while we're here. You can see my reflection on the screen. Don't worry about that. What matters is, does it work? And if I just open that one there, which is just a test, we can sort of hit the button and it's definitely running. Of course, you won't hear anything because there's nothing connected, but it's in there and it's definitely working, and that's the key thing. I've also done lots of stuff on the Western Digital backup drive. I've got all the stuff across from the test results of the PC, audio from the desktop, the last desktop, backing for YouTube, Easy Keys, stuff from Drive G that was sitting around there. There's piles of stuff. And this was from the old Studio One backup. Doesn't look much, but it took about 3 hours to pull across. GT1000 core, which I've still got. I've got the Helix programs and one or two other bits and pieces. Kemper amp, all the bits for that. Got to get to that one yet. I've got a Melodyne thing in there. Presonus software and add-ons. Just stuff that I'm collecting in there. And if I move down to this 2 terabyte, this is the fast drive we looked at, if you remember earlier on in the video. I've got a Presonus Master Live here, and you can see these are all the masters that I sort of pulled across from the other thing. The temporary directory, who knows? And that's about where I'm at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away and carry on installing, and I'll be back a bit later. I think that's a plan. What do you think? And just by the way, while we're near the screen, so to speak, I've also installed the Boss Tone Studio for GT1000 core. Yeah, which I happen to have, and we do use that from time to time. It's got its place. It's very nice on a wide screen like this as well. Just another one of them things to do along the road of getting the software up. I'll go do some more. Okay, well, there's the offending PC on the floor. And I did take the new one and install it. Now along the way we had some problems with that as well, which is all good fun. But I'm going to explain what those problems are that I saw, that you might have as well. And well, you can dig on the Presonus website. The fact is, well, it might be fun for you, because it's been fun for me. In fact, shutting down the new PC, because we started to get various problems. It turned out to be a long, drawn-out problem that did not make sense at the time. So let's move into the other room and I'll tell you all about it. Ah, there you are. I wonder where you got to. Well, the PC's down there on the floor, and we installed it, and as you might see over there, you can see, hopefully on the screen, Windows 11. All sounded good, all looked good. Well, it did at first. What was really weird about it is when I had the PC on the bench over there, still connected into the network and the rest of it, it all worked. Well, I moved it in here, I had these major problems. Really major problems that I didn't think I'd easily solve, but what they were, I'll take you through some of them. One of them, when you got on the PC, you went off into your Studio One, as it is on that screen over there. I know you don't want to look at me, you want to look at that, but everybody's seen that. If you're watching this video, you've probably seen that. Let me open one. It's easier that way. We'll open this one. Yeah, that'll do. There's a track here that I did actually pull across from other gear some while back. And if I go and take a look at a given track up top, you're able to choose the source for the recording. I won't bore you with the screen too much, there's no real point. But I've got all the channels here, channel 1, channel 2, channel 3 and so on and so forth, and it's all set upable, so to speak. Anybody who uses Studio One will know that you can set the routing up within the software. Yeah, all I had was left and right and out. 3 little pieces. So I thought to myself, what am I going to do with this? This is supposed to install properly on a brand new machine. But funnily enough, it really didn't do that. There was no routing. But I distinctly remember when I set this up on the Windows 10 that there was routing. It was all set up for me, basically, except for, I think, 37 and 38, which are shown as tape. Another story. Don't worry about that for now. But on this one, there was nothing, virtually nothing. So what I did is I came into a track that had been set up on the old system, pulled it in, I loaded up the routing, and then I backed it up. Basically what you do is you go to the I/O section and it pulls up a screen for song setup, and below it is all the I/O and the rest of it. So what I did is I backed those up and then restored them into a fresh song, but I also saved them as default so that I've always got the correct things that I need for my network and my recording. They won't be the same for you, probably, but they could be. So that was the easy way out of that one. That was easy enough to solve. But should I have had a blank setup like that? No, I shouldn't. I don't even know why it did that, but that was the case. Now, I wanted to put that across to you because when you get on your Windows 11, if it does that to you, that's the easy way out. Well, the next problem I had was just as much fun. Actually, it was 10 times worse fun. Remember that these cables were all new in this studio. To the 24R that way, to the 32R that's just through that window in that rack, and to the desk, and to the PC. So they were all Cat 6 or Category 6 cables, and actually they were like this. I used this colour for the AVB network. Yeah, nice and simple. Cabled them up, wired them up. UUTP network 6 stranded patch cable 24 AWG times 4P LSOH. That was the cable that was in there, and it had been working perfectly fine on Windows 10. But here we were a little bit later. I plugged the PC in, put all the connections in, made sure everything was sort of hunky-dory. I had the problem I've just talked about, but then when I tried to test to record and playback, I was getting dropouts all over the show. Now, if you don't know what a dropout is, imagine it's playing and yeah, like that, dropouts all the time. And I noticed a few things. One of the things I noticed was on the desk. If you press the home button and then have a look under system, there's a section there that talks about the network clock. And I never changed any of this stuff, but it is what it is, and it ended up being very strange overall. I don't know why. I never did figure out why. Here you've got a green, which means it's got a good network clock. You've got red, which means it's not a good network clock. And you've got a nothing where you don't see any colour, which is what I had. And I thought, how strange. It's been working, all the cabling must be right. It's been working on Windows 10, absolutely perfect. But you know what, it wasn't working right. All these dropouts were continuing to happen. So at that point, I came back to the cabling. And I'd got a problem where, on that unit in that rack in the other room, above it is a headphone amp. So I could play audio back. And you could hear it in there. It sounded, first of all, it sounded very distorted in the cans. And second of all, it still had this dropout going on. Over and over and over. And it was the same in here. If I listened to the playback, It was bad. Now do bear in mind that this is all going on over time. I don't always have time to come out here and do this stuff, but when I do, I'll focus on it quite hard. Anyway, I decided to change that cable I showed you, that orange cable, for another Cat 6 cable. Well, one that I would say will never work in 1,000 years. It's one of those Cat 6 cables. I don't think it's got any codes on it, but it is Cat 6. I've got a picture of the specification that's on the screen now. You can see, I think this one came in German. But don't worry about that. Don't hold it against the cable, because it actually works, which is good. But this cable, yeah, so I fitted this between the desk and between the switch up there, the AVB switch, and I've got two of them. So I connected it up this end, I connected it that end, and I played it back, and guess what? No more dropout. I couldn't believe that. I thought to myself, it's got to be a PC problem, because, and everything else was working. I can't overstress that. You will never go and look at it when it's working, or when it was working, well, just before. Just while we're on the subject, I want to walk over here and I want you to listen. I hope you can hear that. It's still going on in the background. It's like somebody frying eggs. The only problem is I've been through every single cable. I've got a trembler on the floor. They're new cables. The speaker's perfect. If I switch the two cables over, it switches. And it's been doing that since before the PC went in. And that came on over a week or two. Well, it's probably been there for weeks now. Still not yet solved, that isn't. But we'll come back to that. It could be a problem with that trembler. I just feel it is. We shall see. But hey, let's come back to this cabling. So I'd got it working here, and my mate Alan, I sent him in there. I said, put the cans on and listen how good it is. And he was shaking his head all over the place. He's saying, no, it's just as crap as it was before. And I'm thinking, it can't be, can't be. What else could it be? I switched off the 24R out to the network, disconnected everything. The only thing it could have been, really, was the cable. Another one of them orange cables. And they are Cat 6, like it says, and all the rest. So, I got my second trusty flat cable, Cat 6. I put this one in. It didn't cure the dropout. But what it did cure was the distortion. I don't even know why it did that. Listen to that. I don't know if you can hear that speaker still. Oh my God. Anyway, let's ignore that speaker. If I turn it down, it makes no difference. Nothing makes any difference to that. It's a bit of a problem. Yeah, so now I've got this situation where there was no dropout in here, but there was dropout in there, but the audio was fine. It sounded better. So then I started looking at the network. I went and had a look on the PC, not in here, not in Studio One, but I went off to this one, Universal Control. And remember, I only had the two devices turned on as well as the PC. So what I did is I clicked on the Studio Live 32. By the way, the Studio Live 32R is in stage box mode. So I clicked on the 32 to open up into this screen that you see now. Well, then I clicked the gear and I went and had a look down on the network clock. And the network clock said internal, but it wasn't green. Okay, so the next thing I did was to whip across to the Studio 32R, and although you can go and look at it, it'll come up with a stage box mode, access not available, like you see on the screen now. And you notice just underneath that you can actually see the network clock and the status, or the status as the Americans might say. And in my case, yeah, that wasn't quite right either. So back to Studio One I went. Yeah. and I went down here to configure audio device. It's what most people have used. I'm sure you have if you use Studio One. And I was looking through this, and in this one it says 256 samples. You can see it on the screen. Now you can shut your samples down or higher or whatever, but this one was set to, I don't know why, it was set to 512 if I remember right. So this one's on 256 samples, well it is now. But this one in the next screen here, you can see it now. If you look down at the bottom there, you've got two little green thingies. And that really says that everything's going to be good. Well, it does in my book, because I didn't have those before. I had them on the old PC, not on the Windows 11, so it all became a bit of a pain in the neck, if you want the truth. And I switched the dropout to medium protection rather than low or minimum. And when I was on medium protection, with this single 32-bit and these two as they are there on the screen, well, I said okay, and I went and tested everything. And believe me, it all worked. Everything. I never had to do a thing actually to the PC, but I did have to change those cables, and I really didn't think it could be anything like the cables, simply because they worked on Windows 10. Now, Windows 10 isn't the culprit. I don't know why they are as they are, but certainly the cable change did go a long way. And after we reset that, actually in the software, you know, in Studio One, it was all good. Yeah, it just took weeks on end. Well, let me explain to you a little bit further why it took me weeks on end rather than 10 minutes. Well, I've got a bit of paper that I printed out with some of the notes I took from Presonus. And one of the first things it said go and check your firmware. You know, the firmware that you download and get it all up to date, and it's so on and so forth. Here's the choices. Is the Studio Live firmware up to date? Is the Series 3 console firmware up to date? Is the Series 3 rack mixer firmware up to date? Is the NSB firmware fully updated? Is your SW5E firmware updated? And that can be a bit of a nightmare, just mark my words, because it doesn't do really what it should do, not easily. Are your earmixes updated? Really? earmix 16M firmware update guide they supply. And anyway, by the time you've done that, and you've finished faffing around and it doesn't cure a thing, trust me, you want to try and make this stuff fit through the window, because that's the way it is. Now, I could have gone off to my friend in Presonus, Johnny Doyle, great guy, very good at helping you, but I didn't want to do that. What I wanted to do was to actually learn it myself and not have Johnny Doyle or Presonus say to me, oh, we don't support Windows 11, Tony, which he might have done, but he might not have. We'll see. Next time, maybe. Now, on the cabling, they talk about cabling as well. The issue you are having could be cable related. You're darn right it could. More information on recommended cable, and it talks about it. Are you using Cat 5e or Cat 6 recommended cables, shielded or unshielded, so on and forth. Do they have Ethicon locking barrels on the ends? No, they don't. Have all network cables been tested and swapped for comparison testing? Are your Series 3 devices getting clean and consistent power? Which is the next consideration. Well, they are. And on it went with these cables, and ultimately that was part of the problem, getting it all to Windows 11. But as you can hear, there's actually quite a lot of problems stacked up on top of each other. But I continued along on my little piece of paper, which isn't quite in this form when you download it from Presonus, but I got rid of the stuff that I'd already eliminated, and there was a lot of that. And then it talks about the network clock and streaming, the very thing that we've just talked about. It says here, is the network clock in the system section of the main studio set to internal? Well, what was it set to? Network stream. And it couldn't be set to network stream because this is the master one. Why was it that? I don't know. I never did fathom out why. But it was working prior to changing the PC. Yeah, It says here, there should only be one Series 3 device set to internal, so there's a master clock for your network. Here it is. Beautiful job. Other consoles, racks and devices should all be set to network stream. And that's what I did. And when I first did that, on came the red light. You know, this little red light over from home, go to system. On this one now it's green. You might see it from there or not, but there's probably a picture on the screen. But that was actually sitting on red. And then I went back down into the, you know, the audio source and changed that dropout to medium. Magically, I do believe it all then flipped itself, yeah, to green on both the devices. So I was quite happy to do that. You can see I haven't even put the desk back yet because I had to go up there, climb around again and start marking cables up as to what they are and all that sort of stuff. But it's back now. It's going to go back over there in a minute. It's back working, that's what I should have said. And it all seems to operate perfectly, as it did when I was on Windows 10. Yeah, what a relief. Because one of the other things I started questioning was things to do with network cards. Let me explain. I think I've told you the specs of the PC earlier, somewhere in the depths of time as I've been setting everything up. The unit's got 2 network card outs or ins or both on the back. One's a 2.5 gig and one's a 10 gig. Now they're supposed to both be compatible with 1 gigabyte. However, I'm on this 2.5 gig and I tried the 10 gig as well, and I'm questioning it because it's a brand new PC. They've even got problems with the amount of RAM you can put in it and all sorts of things at this time with the 12900K board and processor, and it's an Asus or Asus, or well, you call it what I know what I could call it. So I got myself, I'm like that, yeah, a 1 gig network card to fit in there, but thankfully between the cables and those other settings I made it work with the network card. I'm in the 2.5 gig one. It's just probably running at 1 gig right now. There's no problems with speed. Just trust me on this. It's as fast as you'd ever want. So no problems there. But there is another problem. Well, down here at the front of the PC, I've got 2 USB ports. I've got one for the dongle, which you're really going to need in place. By the way, I've got another dongle in the ports around the back. And I've got a YubiKey, which I use for security type of stuff. That's in the other port. So I've got no spare USB round the front. Round the back, well, that's another story too. Well, as you can see on the screen right now, I mean, there's a lot of cables around there connecting to this darn PC. And well, I've got a little bit of spare socketry left. There isn't much of it. There's some USB-Cs around there. Actually, they tell me that they're Apple related, but seem to work as USB-Cs for me. Let's put it that way round. Latest version and all that. So I really wanted to get some more USBs available. I've never got enough USBs, you know, by the time you've done all this stuff. Trust me. You've never got enough. And I haven't got enough around the front and all the rest. So, guess what? I lashed out on a new card to fit inside the new PC that doesn't have enough USBs. This is USB 3.2, by the way, which can work up to, I think it works up to 20 meg on these, on the 3.2s. 2 Type-Cs and 3 3.2s. Yeah, they say. But the 3.2s in the standard A-type only actually work at 10 meg. Don't let anybody tell you they run at 20 like this particular manufacturer tried to say on Amazon. Well, what do you expect? Summing up, does it work? Does Presonus equipment work on Windows 11? Yeah, it does. If you've got a few weeks spare, well, in my case, a few weeks spare. I've been faffing around with it, reading books, been through all the manuals 10 times. You end up online on the Presonus site. And like I say, I could have asked him about it, but I think it's always better to learn yourself if you can. And hopefully this video might help someone that's got the dropouts. There's probably, well, there isn't too many more things, I don't think, than this. And I might even put that little file down in the text so you can download it. But it's nothing you couldn't really find at Presonus, so you probably don't want to download it, and maybe I won't put it there. I'm like that. By the way, anybody who wants to tell me about that noisy speaker over there, which isn't the speaker, I can absolutely guarantee it. You can see what I've got here. I've got the Presonus Monitor Station V2. I've got the trembler on the floor, and I've got the necessary cable between it and the desk. And that grumbles, and I've been to the cables and I've flipped around, and don't know what, it's gone away now, notice. But it'll be back. Yeah. It's just more of an annoyance than anything. It doesn't appear on anything audio, except when you're monitoring. It doesn't appear in the headphones either. So anybody who wants to tell me it's the headphones or it's the desk, or it isn't. My guess, it's probably a dodgy cable, even though I've checked them. Or something in the trembler box. Thankfully that's still under warranty, maybe. More on that later, if ever I find what the problem is. If it is the trembler box, I'll let you know what they say. Bit of a unit to ship around, a bit heavy and chunky. But would anybody want to do that? Want to be on Windows 11? Well, there is a reason, and my reason is that yes, I do want to be on it, because what I don't want to be, I don't want to have a PC sitting down there where the entire studio is based on the PC and the operating system, and in a couple of years' time it's unsupported or something like that. Something will happen. I don't know. So I've been working with Microsoft since about 1985, and I've seen all the problems and all the rest of it. So I wanted to get that Windows 10 out of the way, because it keeps telling me, yeah, you can upgrade, but you can't upgrade this one. Well, I've been through it all before. In this video, indeed. So for me, yeah, it was definitely worth doing. Would I do it again? Yeah, I would. It's a load of aggravation. It has been for me. It might not be for you. But yeah, have a go. If you think it's can be any problem, well, step back and have a good look what's on the net by the time you get to do yours. There might be no problems. You might just put it on, it just works. And I can't even contribute these problems to any one specific thing. Remember, those cables worked when I was on Windows 10. Well, let's rephrase that. They worked when I was on Windows 10 with the settings that were in the Windows 10 Studio One. Are these settings the same? Well, I haven't plugged it back in since. They might be slightly different. It's working now, I don't really care. So that's it for now. Yeah, don't forget to visit www.TonyMcKenzie.com. Well, there's no Presonus stuff, but there is loads of other stuff. And some information down in the text, different things I've found as I've gone down this nightmare, a very expensive nightmare I might add, to arrive at where I am. Yeah. Now I'm beginning to crawl back out of the no review mode, simply because this is the recording mechanism for the reviews, among other things. That's it for now. Now get out of here.